Yeah, the quiz is pretty good. I mean, I did it also today. It's pretty deep project management, more knowledge, but also in a very fun phrasing. So please try it. I like the quiz idea. I just tested it today. Good. Delivering business results via PMO. I mean, our name already is Asia PMO. Why? Because me and my colleague Bruce Butler, as founders, we met 10 years ago in a PMO. Yeah, we were both working in Vietnam for Home Credits, a finance company, a Czech finance company, which is in multiple countries in Asia and in Eastern Europe. He was the project sponsor in a lot of projects at the C-level, and I was the project manager and partly then also the head of PMO. That's how we met. And then after some years doing different jobs, I was then also at Lazada and other companies. We opened together a company called Asia PMO. And the first thing we focused in was project and agile management, right? And also PMO implementation. But then, because in Lazada, I worked as a vice president customer experience, one of the leading e-commerce in Southeast Asia. We also offer customer employee experience. And lately, we also went into strategy and OKRs, objective and key results. Yeah? And then I realized with all this scope, actually PMO is pretty useful to do almost all of these topics. Because whatever you do in the company, especially centralized, because customer experience is a centralized topic or a centralized unit where you help on an end-to-end customer journey with a lot of department involved to improve the customer experience, you need project management skills, you need portfolio and project coordinating skills. Yeah. OKRs, objective and key results. Somebody in the companies have to organize that, right? I mean, somebody has to organize getting ideas from the top management. What are the objectives for next year? Input from everybody from the company. Are these ideas valid? Does anybody has a better ideas? Bringing it all together, trickling it down, maybe later even measuring the results on a better. So PMO can be also very useful for that. And in one of my last jobs, and also the first real engagements for Asia PMO when we transitioned, was really we tested a lot what PMO can do. We use PMO for idea management, for example. And especially the last topic, business or digital transformation, of course, PMO is often the central unit to coordinate that. Yeah. So for us, and you see that we grew out of this PMO topic the last 3-4 years with some of our clients here. PMO is still the basis for everything. And that's why we think there's a lot of value to be delivered by PMO. Yeah. So my name is Carsten Ley. I'm also PMP certified. I'm also customer experience certified. You have my contact data. My partner is Mr. Bruce Butler. We have like 5 to 10 consultants in our company around Southeast Asia. And these are some of the companies we worked before. Yeah. I'm also ex-Deloitte. In Germany, I was working a long time for Deloitte in transformation projects. Good. So let's jump into the topic. And like Setulo already said, we have time also to ask questions already slide by slide, or to, even if the crowd is not getting too big, let me see, 20, 30, that's okay, even to unmute in between if you have a question. But the first thing, whenever you have a question, feel free to ask on the chat, and I think the staff from GSDC can help me if I miss a chat question and remind me. I'm very happy at the end of each slide to answer questions directly. And of course, at the end, we will have a Q&A session or maybe some longer topics. Good. Now, just to go a little bit back to the basics, what is a PMO? So PMO stands for Project Management Office, yeah, not organization like some people think, but I mean, it's an organization at the end, but it's Project Management Office as a term. And It's a supportive unit, normally directly reporting to the top management or the CEO, yeah, which is in charge to initiate, coordinate project, maybe also some people don't like the word because it's a little bit mean, but also to control projects, to support projects, to train and standardize project management in the company and so on. Yeah. And a lot of times project management, because it comes from the top management, works with a top management sponsor. I mean, we have next week a new client in Myanmar, where they suddenly told me that the C-levels are all project managers. So I was challenging that. I was like, there's a reason why you call the job project manager, because it should be maybe somebody from a team leader or management level, right? I mean, somebody a little bit more hands-on than a C-level. And C-levels are normally the sponsors. And then below the project managers, of course, you work directly with some departments and you have a project team. Yeah, so there's a mix between maybe your own staff out of PMO and staff which is lent to you. Yeah, it's a little bit, PMO is a little bit like the FIFA World Cup. You know, I mean, a project manager is like the coach on a World Cup. He never has his own players, or almost no own players. He has a little bit his own stuff, but he has to achieve something in a very limited amount of time. I mean, 4 weeks, and I hope Germany will do this year not only 2 weeks, but 3 or 4 weeks, not like last time. And in this certain amount of time with people which come from other organizations, from other football clubs, he wants to achieve a certain target. So it's a little bit like the World Cup, right? And PMO is like the soccer coach, right? Or the local organization of each football country. Yeah, depends what's the name of the organization. That's a little bit PMO, to support that, to bring that in a form. Now, if we look at benefits of PMO, I mean, we help clients a lot to establish PMOs. Last year, we helped a new Filipino fintech because they were running a lot of projects and they had already like 200-300 people. Yeah, and they had a very strange structure a little bit. They had the whole commercial team and product team in Philippines. They had the whole IT team in India, and they had the whole C-level in Singapore. Yeah, and somehow, because the IT, the CTO, the C-level of IT, was one of the founders, he was reigning over all the projects. And after half a year, they found out IT is not ideal to run deliveries on business projects. And especially the scoping didn't go well, and also the timelines and everything. So they asked us from Asia PMO to come in and establish a more business-oriented PMO. Yeah, and that's what we actually did. Yeah? So at the beginning, if you want a PMO, it costs something. There's not immediately a benefit or a positive result. I mean, it costs something. You know, you have to hire some externals like us to establish a PMO, to write guidelines, to hire people, to establish the function, which in this fintech was also a little bit in negotiation because we took a little bit away power from the CTO. So a little bit change management involved, right? To get that in a smooth transition. We also found out with this particular client that the CEO, he was running on a 3 months more OKR basis. I will come to that later, right? Objective key result, he called them ROCs. So he had a 3 months planning. Then we suddenly consolidated with product 6 months roadmap, and with IT another 6 months roadmap. So I went to the CEO and I said, it's nice that you want to change the plan every 3 months, but are you aware that product and IT, they have 6 months roadmaps, right? Which are dependent on suppliers, on external factors. So what we helped them was to build a comprehensive roadmap. Even before we were building a project portfolio, we were building a roadmap, right? Which everybody was aligned. And of course, that costs money, right? I mean, they hired us for 2-3 months to make that run, and then we hired the team. We together with the team, we wrote the PMO process for them, so some governance process who really can initiate the process, which templates are we using, decision trees and so on, right? And what is the control process? What is the reporting process and so on? And that costs money, right? So at the beginning, there's an investment if you want to run a PMO. Yeah? And then the implementation itself, as I just said, to make this process run, it will not run smooth from the first day. We also needed 2 to 3 months to really hire 4 or 5 very good central project managers. Luckily, at that time, Citibank Philippines was sold. So a lot of very good project managers from Citibank Philippines wanted to work in fintech. So we hired some of them, which was lucky for us. But we mixed it. We also had more IT related ones. So from India, we had one guy from Singapore, another German who lives with me in Vietnam. So we mixed the team. Yeah. But there's a cost to establish a PMO and to establish the structure, especially when you don't have these roles defined. Because a lot of companies, they just start with a bunch of project managers. And like I said, with our new client, they even get the project managers wrong. They give C-levels project management responsibility. But the moment you start establishing a PMO, you get some maybe not monetary results at the moment, but results which can save you money in the future. So first, what we did for this fintech client, we got a central coordination. So we analyzed and we had a portfolio system or road mapping system where we knew which project makes sense in Q1, which project don't make sense. I mean, last year there was a lot about discussion. We have to start with crypto. Yeah, and everybody was crazy about crypto. And fintech has to start crypto. And then the product guys say, yeah, but we don't have really the basic loan products in place yet. And IT was saying, oh, we are still struggling with the basic loan product to get them running. So we advised the CEO and the C-level, say, maybe make crypto in Q2 and Q3, but in Q1, you should put all the resources on making your basic loan projects running, because they will also bring you a lot of cash flow. Maybe crypto, we don't know. I mean, now we know that crypto maybe doesn't work so much with the last blown up, yeah? But 1 year ago, it looked a little bit better. But these are as a result, it's central coordination. The next thing you get is you get separated budget responsibility. Once you have a structure to know who's the sponsor, who's the manager, when we assign budgets, yeah, we can track down as a PMO the people week by week, maybe month by month, and see how they are doing against the project budget. So you have to have a higher control and you make people responsible. You get a full accountability and responsibility with PMO. Because before in this fintech, people were saying, oh, everything is IT. IT is in charge of projects. We only deliver, but we are not responsible. And that's also something PMO brings in, right? Before you get a PMO, a lot of people are not really clear who is in charge of a project, what is the role of a sponsor, what is the role of a manager, who gets blamed at the end if something goes wrong, everybody's hiding, right? So this is also something we bring in, accountability and responsibility against budgets, but also, of course, against delivery. Because now at the moment, especially in startup fields, you have to have a very fast and good delivery, but also in bigger companies. Okay, any questions on the PMO structure and the costs and the benefits or results here? If not, I carry on. Just shoot in the chat if you have any. Now, when you look at the basic functions of PMO, and this is a little bit of PMI slide here, and probably you know them, monitor and control the portfolio, sometimes set up the portfolio. A lot of companies don't have a project portfolio. Updates, of course, you have to get the status reports in, which sometimes is a lot of running around. I mean, I did PMOs a lot. Provide guidelines and templates. That's a little bit the easier part. Train project teams, they are very happy if you do that, because sometimes they are very lost. And then PMO should directly run projects. Now, if you look at these 5, which you already know, I would like to ask you, and you can answer in the chat or you can unmute your mic, but maybe first answer in the chat. Where do you see positive business results here on these 5 functions? I mean, where can companies make profit or even say, or at least save costs around these 5? Can you think a little bit about that and write in the chat? So how can these 5 functions of PMO generate profits or save costs? Yes, train project teams. How can it save costs or generate profits? So don't mention and just the 5. Just tell me also what is the cost impact or what is the benefit or business impact. I mean, you're right. You can save money on training costs because if your internal PMO can train them in the long run, you don't have to hire expensive guys like me, right? Yeah. And of course, you get a standardization inside, right? And maybe they can even multiply the training. Quality, yeah. I mean, especially when you have really experienced PMO project managers. Yeah, I mean, when I stepped into Home Credit, one of the base criteria was minimum 3 year in project management and PMP certified or any of the certification. Yeah, so there you get a certain quality insight. Yeah, manage large scale project with very experienced people. Mitigate additional cost and overrun costs. What do you mean with that, Sageswara? Can you unmute your microphone? What do you mean with that? I don't know if you pronounce your name right, Sageswara Ryan. Can you unmute and explain us a little bit about that? Hello?
Carsten.
Yes.
Yeah, you pronounced my name correctly. Thanks for that. Yeah, I was having a bit understanding that monitoring and control lead me to understand that anything to do with the carefully manage the project, and at the same time you are controlling anything out of me control. So that is mostly we are looking at the cost. Will be our most concern when it comes to anything to monitor and control. A part of that is quality, so part of that. I'm thinking that will be lead to that.
Yeah, and you're right on that. I mean, what I realized working in PMO, and especially if it's a central department under C-level or under the CEO, it takes you in a very neutral position in the company. You know, you don't have to play benefits to anybody because you are just neutral. I remember in Home Credit, I had my very first project I had, which didn't reflect any of my experience from Deloitte, was a office fit out project. So we were building a new office in Vietnam. And I mean, I don't know much about construction and things, but we had some experts, of course. We had some providers on that. And then 4, 5, 6 weeks in the project, after all the designs were approved and the budget was approved, some of the directors came to me. They were like, oh, I need a little bit of bigger office. I want an extra window. I want that, you know? And I was like, okay, here's our change request template. Fill it out. It will go immediately CC to the CEO. And half of them immediately backed up. Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they wanted me to do it under the hand, right? Here a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
and there a little bit. But I'm like PMO. I'm like, no, I'm a neutral instance here. I'm only reporting against the CEO. We have a process for that. And a process
Yeah.
has a committee. And even when you mention committee, people get already scared, right? The change request committee is just by name something very scary and useful. If you are in
Yeah.
a waterfall environment, not in an agile environment. In an agile environment, we embrace change. It's a completely different game. But
Yes.
a construction project was a waterfall project, right? I mean, very step by step to deliver.
Step by step. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Manage large scale project, have cost saving. Yeah, what we normally do is if the project gets too big, I mean, one of our new clients in Myanmar, they were like, we have a 3 years project, we have a 5 years project. And I was like, show me the deliverables and show me the teams. And I very fast found out they don't have projects, they have programs. And inside the program are like 5 to 10 projects, which have a 4 to maybe 10 months timeline, which is much easier to handle. So why do you have to build these monster projects, right? But if you can coordinate them in a large program and get the right benefits between these one and start at the right time with maybe similar staff, which is already experienced, you can have a lot of cost saving, right? Also non-tangible, I mean, what we already said, more on the coordination side, yeah. A project manager can focus on delivery, and that's very good when you have a PMO project manager, because you don't have another job. You are not the sales manager at the same time, and you are not the marketing manager at the same time, and you don't have any conflict between your job interest or your department interest and the project itself. Yeah. Can avoid communication issues. Yeah, I mean, it's very important about, Ashish, that's very important about standardizing, right? All the reporting, all the templates we use should be very clear. And if you use the same stuff all over again and people jump more and more to projects, they know exactly what to do. And the communication is clear and the reporting is clear. And I, as a PMO, know where your project is standing because you send us every week the same template. Yeah, you prepare very similar material. Yeah. Good. That was very good input. Thank you very much. Yeah. So only by the basic functions of PMO, we can already see a lot of tangible or intangible monetary, non-monetary benefits. Yeah. And also RT, right, by the governance, right? I mean, you have one governance. That's also something what I really like about the last one. The first time I really worked very efficiently in this sponsor project management structure, right? I mean, the sponsor, Bruce, my partner now, he's Australian. He's a little bit the nice guy. I mean, Australians are nice people. I'm a German, right? So I'm a little bit more this diehard, I follow you and I control you and I don't let go project manager. And we were a little bit a good team. I mean, we were almost like a good cop, bad cop team. And I didn't say that officially now that I advise to do that, but that's how we played it a little bit. So as a sponsor, you are sometimes a little bit like the good shepherd, right? Also with the goodies and the overall coordination, but you're also the one who cleans the way if there's trouble with other C-levels. And that guy gave me a lot of peace of mind as a project manager, right? Because I know if any C-level shoots against our project or has any crazy ideas which go completely against the project, my project sponsor will help me to sort that out. I don't have to be confronted. And the same on department and project staff level. They knew if they don't get enough time to work on the project or there's any conflict with their normal work, that I will talk with their team leaders. Or if we really have to escalate, the sponsor have to talk with their C-levels again, right? But there you, with the governments, with a very clear government structure, you take away this kind of dependencies, yeah, and you make it very thorough. And also, when you look at portfolio management, for me, I always tell people portfolio management is something very, very fair. Yeah, you have a list of all the projects and you see how they are doing. Yeah, and it's fact-based, it's status-based. It's not I like you, I don't like you based. Like sometimes you have this game. I was a director in a smaller consumer finance here in Vietnam after home credit, and I know how it can be between directors sometimes. Yeah, good. Now, when we look at PMOs, when you start with a PMO, there are different stages of PMO. Maybe you are aware of one of these standard graphics here, right? At the beginning, when you start with a PMO, it's more about to really do some projects, right? Maybe to be the project managers. Then in stage 2, you get some standards and methodology out. Stage 3 is a little bit the environment and infrastructure. And then stage 4 and 5, you really go into portfolio management and in a process to control and monitor and also suggest projects, right? A little bit more advanced or even center of excellence. And when you look at that, we also think there's an evolvement from at the beginning. Of course, it's first, it costs money to do that, I said it, but you go very fast on cost savings because you standardize, you have trainings, you repeat stuff, it's very repetitive. So you have a lot of cost saving and time saving, which at the end is also cost saving. But then the more you get PMO on a higher level, like especially when you have roadmaps and portfolios and you can prove what makes sense as a next project, what doesn't make sense, where do we have resources, where do we have the best business results if we do this and this and this project. Yeah, if you can get this data together as a PMO, you can really impact the business result of a company very, very directly. Like I just gave you the example with the fintech where we told them, don't do crypto in Q1, focus all your resources first on the basic lending, because we know that the lending gives you most of the cash flow, and we know that IT and product needs time with all the resources they have to finish them first. Yeah, if you start crypto at the same time, you just don't get anything done. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maturity models are all very similar. We do also OKR, goal setting consulting. We also developed the OKR maturity model. I mean, I worked in Deloitte, yeah, for 4 years. It was one of the bread and butter things we did, maturity models. Yeah, it's consulting. But thanks for the comment. Good. Now, you also know this graph, where do we have projects? I mean, we always have a little bit of difference between operations and projects. And a lot of companies, not startups, but established companies, they are like, let's spend only 10 or 20% of our budget and of our resources on project because we need to generate cash flow, and operation generates cash flow. So sometimes they don't have time or they don't want to commit resources for projects, which maybe is a little bit short-sighted, right? But that's the nature of a longer running company. I mean, think about Apple. Apple still makes, I don't know, 50, 60% of the profit of the iPhone. And I'm not really an Apple user. I'm still surprised that it goes on and on and on. Even the other products they have are not really catching up even after 10 years. I mean, here a little bit, the watch and the funny looking earplugs, yeah, but yeah, so they maintain their cash cow. I'm not sure if they go enough on innovation or they innovate the product itself, yeah. But if we look at that, I mean, ops is, where are the benefits from operation? They do the sales, they do the cash flow, they also generate a lot of costs, right? I mean, they generate a lot of current costs. They have to cover recurring costs. That's why they need a huge cash flow in the sales. But we also use a lot of the cash flow from operations to finance our projects, right? So we should really be thankful to operations, right, in the first place, because I mean, where does the money come from projects? If you're a startup, it's differently. There are investors, and then you go directly in projects, or the whole company is in project. But you should also be thankful on your investors, and they also want to see results, of course, right? Now, PMO, the benefits are more on the speed of things, on the speed of change. We can do something new very fast in a project, or at least we can try it if we do it in an agile way. Also, opposite to operations, where we have a lot of recurring costs. And sometimes, I mean, the more you do on the market, the more salespeople you need. I mean, it can blow up proportionally. In PMO, you can still very good limit the costs with budgets, right? And like I said, in an agile way, you try things and then you put the budgets where it makes sense or not. Yeah. And of course, PMO can pump out innovations, which later can be used for sales to generate cash flow again. And that's the future forward thinking. So if you have to justify budgets for PMO, always argue with innovations, right? And also look into the company. And I got that, again, the fintech example, which is saying, okay, lending products are cool, but we need crypto because our competitors will all go on crypto. Yeah, and as a fintech, we are not cool enough and we are not sustainable enough in the market if we just do lending. And I got that. So I told the CEO, so Q2, Q3, let's start with a lending project, with a crypto project, and let's see how it goes. Yeah, if we pick up clients on that and what we can do with them. So that's what PMO is doing. But as a PMO, don't be just so innovation forward driven. Really also understand operations. First, be thankful because they make the money for what you do. And second, make sure that they understand what you do in PMO is generating future profits, because that's what they need. Yeah, maybe one day we will not use an iPhone anymore. I don't know what Apple is not doing. Maybe they are selling bananas or something else. Yeah, but yeah. No idea. Okay, if we want to look directly at the monetary part of projects, of course, you come at the end, at the beginning and at the end of a project, you come up with a cost-benefit analysis, right? I mean, this is bread and butter of every project manager, that in the planning phase, even in the initiation phase, when you pitch the project, you already need some rough numbers and some rough deliverables, but then in the planning phase, you need a very, very thorough CBA, yeah, and a cost planning, yeah, cost benefit planning. And then normally, depends on your finance, you, as a project manager, you would monitor that maybe on a weekly basis. Against finance, you will report it on a monthly basis, also in a CBA format, because they need it. Because they have to blend in the money they have to give you for every phase. Yeah. And then later they will monitor, once the project is ended, finance or PMO will still monitor if you really get the mid or long-term benefits in. Often we also have quick wins in projects, right? And this is something as consultants is very important for us, because a lot of times customers buy projects from us because we offer quick wins. Not only if you work with us, we give you a benefit 2 years down the road. Now that's not really modern anymore and feasible anymore. People want to say, okay, you can do a 3 to 6 months project with us, like we do an OKR implementation project. But what are the quick wins? Is there anything you can already improve the next 4 weeks? And we do that. We do it, especially in alignment, in communication, in cleaning up some, let's say, mess they have at the moment, right? Or where they miss coordination, and we can prove that we very fast generate. But beside this monetary part, there is a second thing I would like to highlight, and is the future state, right? I mean, projects not only generate directly monetary results, but also bring things like product, processes, yeah, or anything else in the company into a better future state. Yeah, and then we have to prove how this future state, this higher developed product, for example, can help the organization. It can also be an internal project where we work on employee experience or externally on customer experience, right? When I was vice president customer experience in Lazada, my project manager, she was customer experience manager. I told her, you are not only a customer experience manager, you're also a PMO, because we have so many initiatives running in the company which improve the life cycle and the experience of the customer. And we, as the customer experience department, we were monitoring. We were not all doing this initiative. Sometimes sales did one, and then Lazada delivery did one, and delivery with the 3PLs did a project, right? But we were helping them and monitoring. Yeah, also putting some templates inside, which in a startup is a little bit a weird topic, because you should be careful when you bring PMO in a startup. Maybe you even don't call it PMO because they think that's something very old-fashioned, but you can still run it. And don't put too much structure and templates inside, because in startups, they want to run a little bit wilder. But at least we control them and we control the results. Doesn't matter how we call them. Yeah. But it's about the current state and the future state. So one of the customer experience projects we did was, of course, about delivery speed and about delivery locations in Vietnam, where sometimes, I don't know, in other countries around in the regions, it's very hard to find the address because the addresses are very similar, right? So we developed a project to find the addresses better. So we had less failed deliveries and the customer got the stuff better, right? Faster. So these are projects. Going from a current state where we have, I don't know, 5% failed deliveries into a future state with only 2 or 3% failed deliveries and less complaints, of course, what customer experience is also about. So this is also one thing you should think about, besides the costs and the benefits, which there must be a business case you can calculate. It should not be only intangible. I mean, the moment a project is only intangible, there is a very high chance you don't get it approved. Yeah, I mean, we sometimes get approached on employee experience to do cultural impact projects, but even cultural impact projects, we have to get numbers behind, that we make sure that people stay longer in the company, or that the happiness rating of the people go up, or that there are less complaints into HR. So somehow it's always measurable, right? Things are measured. Yeah. Any questions so far? Good. Now, I already mentioned that the difference between waterfall and agile, and it's actually not so important because a lot of companies run now hybrid, which is a mix between waterfall and agile. We don't see a lot of pure waterfall long-term planning projects anymore, which go with very little changes, only repetitive stuff, like maybe a design an office building, audit processes, things like that. Yeah, but a lot of, especially product, customer experience, or sales projects go in a very agile way. Yeah, and of course, the more agile you go and the smaller your cycles are, when you have like 2 or 4 week sprint cycles to try things, the less money you have to invest until you produce results, which we call in agile increments, right? So even in a 2 to 4 week sprint cycle, there should be already proven results, tangible or intangible, but ideally on the tangible side, especially with product increments. Yeah, and so it's very important to run the cycle. Of course, you can put on top of waterfall planning where you say, we run 6 sprints, which is a quarter, like OKRs. We run 6 sprints, 6 times 2 weeks. And in 3 months, we want to achieve that and that. But then in the sprints, you have to validate them. Yeah. Now, this is another reason here. I don't know if you know these Dilbert comics, these Office comics, but if you read this one, this is another reason why PMO can save you a lot of money. Because we see a lot of times when we get product requirements and marketing requirements and sales requirements, and then IT is telling us what they can do and what they cannot do. And somebody has to coordinate it, right? I mean, business requirement coordination is a big job of PMO. Yeah. And sometimes the requirements, they blow up so hard, right? Especially in waterfall projects. In sprints, you can then put them in a backlog and say, we only choose the ones which are important. But in waterfall environments, it can blow up so much that it doesn't make sense anymore. And it would cost a lot of money to go for all that, right? So PMO can help and say what is really needed against the company strategy, against what the business wants to really develop, what is also feasible on the customer side. So maybe as a PMO, you will request some market researches, yeah, before you really go for these kind of projects. Yeah? Good. Here is a easy example of a portfolio management. We also used some years ago for fintech. And believe me or not, even in 2022, we have a lot of clients. Just working with them 1 or 2 weeks or up to 4 weeks to generate this portfolio overview is a crazy eye-opener for clients, right? A lot of C-levels don't have this overview. And in a lot of companies, every department keeps that in their own locker, only their departments. And IT only knows the IT part of it, and product only knows the product part of it, yeah? And nobody knows the overall status of a project and so on, yeah? And where we are and what we deliver and if we're still on track. So just maybe for some of us, it's very basic to put a project portfolio together is already very, very powerful to get alignment, to save costs, to save time on discussions, right? To generate a very clear picture, to cut out this, sorry to say that very direct, this personal bullshit between people, because here these are facts, they are on the table when you go into a portfolio discussion in your weekly leadership meetings or bi-weekly leadership, right? So this one helps a lot to generate benefits, yeah? Just a pure, simple portfolio. And of course, it's a lot of work to get these together. So you need templates for that. You have to train the teams and also the non-PMO project managers in the department to send the data over, to establish a process, maybe also a lot of change management to convince them why they should send this data over, because at the beginning they don't want to, because it's more workload and maybe it's also disclosing too much. So there's a lot of work involved to do, right? And that's what we a lot do as Asia PMO. But there's a lot of benefits. Yeah? So have some of you, just to ask you on the chat, have some of you experienced to set up portfolio? You can answer with yes, or you can give us an example. Did you experience to set up portfolios in company? Okay, anyone, I mean, we can make it country specific, anyone from Bangladesh, of course, if you want to do it country specific. I don't know who is here all. So if not, try it, right? I mean, we will give out this material after. Here you have a nice easy template. It can be much longer as a portfolio, of course. If you contact us, we can also help you to set it up or give you a better template on that, no problem. Yeah, just get in touch with us. But it's a very, very powerful, yeah, just to align. Yeah, and you will see a crazy aha effect when suddenly the leadership sees that, right? And a lot of times they're also challenging it because they were running it on feeling, yeah? They were not running it on facts. So they were like, oh, is it really orange, or is that really green, or is that red? Oh, yeah. So, good. You can still answer it later. Good. I want to give you now, we are now time-wise 9:20, so we are like 45 minutes in the presentation. I will give you now today more concrete examples what we do for clients in OKR management and customer experience management, how PMO can help for these kind of processes to generate benefits here. Yeah, besides the ones I already told you. Now, OKRs means objective and key results. It's a little bit the agile way of KPIs. Before we had MBO, smart KPIs. OKRs around for around 20 years. John Durr, you can look him up. He has also a lot of material and nice videos. He was an investor, not a consultant. He was an investor who brought it to Google, yeah, because he wants that his investments is going better. A very smart guy. And if you look at the main difference between KPIs and OKRs, I mean, a lot of companies, KPIs is like waterfall management. It's very top down. It's very numerical, yeah, very quantitative. And it's only about, did you hit the number or don't you hit the number? And it's normally very, very siloed. It's very performance connected. So people are very scared about KPIs. And normally they are trickled down. Yeah, so there's a top number and then the number gets smaller and smaller throughout the organization. And a lot of times nobody tells you why you have this to hit this kind of number. And in OKRs, and especially in startup environments, but now more and more traditional companies, we just have Panasonic in Singapore as a client, they also want to do OKRs, maybe not for the whole companies, but for their product teams or for their innovation teams, yeah? And then not only top down, also together, at least with your team leader or managers, you will discuss the OKRs, yeah? Or maybe when you have a draft of the OKRs, you can send a survey to the company and everybody can put them. That's okay. And then instead of only having the KPIs or in OKR methodology are very similar to key results. Key results are the measurable part in OKRs. You also have objectives, inspiring objectives. So if we say the KR is we want to make 5 million next year in sales. So you should also say as an objective, why do we want to make 5 million? I mean, do we need that money to pay ops and to pay our costs? Do we need part of this money to pay future innovations? And what are the future innovations? I'm more motivated to make the 5 million if you tell me for what. And these are the objectives. And sometimes they can be stretched or a dream. Think about Tesla, who says we want to go to the Mars since 10 years. I mean, they're still not even at the moon, but they have this dream to go to the Mars, and then somehow that drives people. Yeah, and OKRs are ideally not performance related. So normally in OKRs, we look more on a team performance because it's the agile way of management. We have team results, not individual results. Any questions here? Good. Now, the main part of OKRs is make the objective or the goals very clear, make them inspiring and public, and measure the progress regularly, even when failure happens. Here, this is the agile way. And this is where we see PMO. I mean, even on the make things clear and inspiring, PMO can help on that. I mean, the portfolio, what we set up is very, very clear. I mean, we have categories in the portfolio. You have to put project objectives. You have to put project deliverables. You have to put future benefits. You have to put the costs. So it's very clear. Yeah. Even maybe you can have a narrative where you say this project helps what and what. That can be inspiring. And then we see PMO, especially on the make it public, because the portfolio is often in companies very public. Why should only limit it to C-level? I mean, at least get the manager and team level the portfolio, but even the staff level can probably see the portfolio and know, oh, we work for this and this project. It's going well. It's not going well. Why? And they can talk, yeah, and align each other on each level. And then in OKRs, we would measure the progress of the project and the actions against the objective and key results. So if we say 5 million in sales is one of the key results, because the objective is we want to invest in 1.5 years in something where we need 5 million. Then we have to measure that maybe after 1 month, you should have 1 out of 12 of 5 million. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but you know what I mean. I mean, you should come after 1 month close to this 5 million. And after 10 months, you should be very close to 5 million. And somebody has to measure that. Maybe it's not finance. Maybe PMO can do that, especially for projects. Yeah. So PMO can be used for goal setting. Yeah, even KPI, I mean, also KPI is monitoring in the dashboard. If it's project related, PMO can also do that. But in OKR, it even works better because OKR is the same structure like project. It has objective, it has key results, which are like deliverables. Yeah. So PMO can be very beneficial for that, to keep everything in track during the year for the manager and make it transparent for everybody. So, like I already explained, objective is more the inspiring part. Where do we want to go? What is the target? And key result is then the measurable part. And PMO can take care about the key result because these are the deliverables in the project or the measurables of the activities. And the project is here in an OKR methodology is the plan, right? The plan are the projects or the actions, the operational actions are the plan here. What we want to do, the weekly initiatives. And PMO can help. That's what we actually do in portfolio management. We measure week by week what the projects are doing. Are they going into the right direction? Time-wise, budget-wise, scope-wise, quality-wise. That's what we are reporting. Yeah. Does the weekly project management or even the weekly ops has the right impact against the objectives of the company? Yeah, or the project or the program or the portfolio, and whatever level you're working. That's what we call in a PMI or in the methodologies, the executing, monitoring, control process, right? Weekly initiatives, monitoring. I just want to do with you one OKR exercise quickly, because a lot of people are confused how to set up OKRs. Let's imagine you have a personal objective, which is I want to get fit. And no offense, I cannot see any video of anybody. Later, maybe you can switch your videos on if you want, but not because of this topic. What are the measurable key results you personally, as an individual, can achieve if you want to get fit? Yeah? How can you make it measurable? I give you 2-3 minutes in the chat. Please put in the chat some measurable key results you can achieve. Let's say maybe in a 3 months cycle. Yeah, 3 months measurable. That you can prove us that you get fit. What are the key results, and then what are the actions or projects you are taking? If you have any questions about that, let me know. If not, okay, Rahul already starts. Rahul, you're fine. Okay, yeah. Can you give me an example for number 1? I mean, it doesn't have to be you. Just give me an example. Achieve specific weight in time. It's still very generic. Can you make it very direct? How much by when? Or anybody else? Yes, after 30 days, 65 kilobyte. Great. Yeah, Iman, you want to speak? You can unmute. You were raising your hand, Iman?
Sir, please, can you define it again?
What is it?
Can you define it again?
Yeah, I mean, a key result is the measurable outcome. Yeah. And if you look in what what Raul, oh, thank you. Now we have the full picture, Raul, you got it. So a key result would be, let me rephrase it for you, Raul, to make it in one sentence. Reduce weight from 70 to 65 kg in 30 days. Yeah, that's a key result. That's a classical key result in OKRs for this topic. Yeah, I mean, you start with the work, increase, reduce, maintain. It always starts with the work. We have a cheat sheet for that. If you want that, how to write OKR, you can contact me after that session, right? Reduce what? The weight, and then you will have to get numbers. And when he said 65, it's a little bit blurry because it's better to say from the starting point to an end point. That makes it very clear because then the staff, everybody knows where we are at the moment. It's also transparency again, right? And then in which timeline? That's a great key result. Yeah. And then I see here somebody else. Yeah, the action. Raul, you said the action. You run. Yeah, you go running, you go to the gym. And that's an action. I mean, go running or go to the gym is not a deliverable in projects, right? That's what you do on a daily basis. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't work. So actions, like an agile methodology, sometimes work out, sometimes they don't work out. That's why we need a deliverable or key result or increment to measure it. Good. Any other idea besides losing weight? Does anybody have another idea how we can measure that we are getting fit? Okay, how can you measure or control diet? How can you make that in numbers? Anybody has an idea? Increase stamina? How can you measure that? I mean, the ideas are great, but I need a measurable on it, right? Exercise repetition increase. Now we come close. Can you give me an example, Ashish? Can you give me a concrete example? Which exercise and how many you want to increase? Yeah, in a certain account of mind. Capability to do a piece of work. Yes. Okay, but you have to measure it. And I think it already goes in the right direction. I will give you some hints here. We also had these lose 5 kilos in 3 months. And it's better to say from 70 to 65. Yeah. You can also make a sport challenge. I mean, if at a moment you need for 5 kilometers, 15 minutes or 1 hour, you can say after 3 months or after 1 month, I want to do it in under 45 minutes or in under 30 minutes. Yeah. And then a little bit similar what Ashish said with the push-ups, right? Do 30 push-ups in 1 minute or do 50 push-ups without a break and don't break down or something like that, right? So there are different ways to measure it. And everything we do in order to achieve that, these are the actions in the project or the activities, how you call them, yeah, or what you do during the sprint. These are things you do, but they don't have to work out. So for example, I go often to the gym, but sometimes I don't train really hard. Or maybe I don't train at all. I just drink something there, right? So going to the gym doesn't help as an action. You need to measure the result. Yeah. And then here on the profit, we have another example. If you want to increase the profit, of course, you can sell more or you can win you more customers, but you can also reduce costs. So these are different key results, which goes on the same objective. And then everything you do for that is an action. It's the trying part. Yeah. And this is what OKR is about. So OKRs is about giving an objective out. It's a little bit inspirational. And then key results even from different teams. So OKR is about collaboration. Very similar in project management. So if you look at this in the profit section, sell items, reduce cost and customers. There are maybe 4 departments involved, 3-4 departments who work together against the same objective. That's what we try to do on OKRs, not siloed as KPIs. And that's why we think PMO would be a good way to help with OKRs in companies, especially project-related OKRs. Any questions? We have another example from Rahul. Want to increase internal sales? Yeah, that's good. And then onboard. Yeah. And hiring onboarding for us is not really a result. I mean, the performance people do and what they achieve is the result. But just hiring itself, I mean, sometimes HR people, they said, I hire 10 people, that's my result. We can accept that. But overall, for the company, you should look at the performance of the people or if they stay for a longer time. Okay. The second example we would like to give is customer experience management, where we see also benefits for PMO. And I already told you a little bit from my experience in Lazada. So customer experience manager, why do we need it and what is it? I mean, customer experience management is not about solving issues on the phone or on the chat like customer service. Yeah, it's about pushing sales and pushing loyalty and recommendations. Yeah, that people come back. And Amazon is pretty good in loyalty. Apple is very good in loyalty. Google, I think we all do stuff on Google, right? But that's the same person comes back. But we want even also the person to go out and say, hey, you should go to these people or you should buy that, right? That's recommendation, or at least you would like to avoid the negative stuff. Yeah, because that can hurt your business a lot. But that's what customer experience is doing. And customer experience is what the customer feels and thinks in every interaction. So from reading a billboard, going on your app, interacting with your salespeople, buying something, ordering something, getting it, yeah, living with this product, using your product, or tool or whatever you do, right? That's in every interaction, in every step. Yeah. And then just basic definition, we have something like moments of truth. This is what the most important steps. I mean, if you look at an e-commerce journey, yeah, which is like 6-7 steps. What is very important for the customer is maybe when he opens. I mean, it's first look and feel. There are e-commerce platforms and apps you like and you don't like. Maybe you like the color, maybe you like the structure, maybe you don't like, right? And then what is the moment of truth for the e-commerce company? It's the checkout. I mean, the checkout processes, if you realize that, is normally very simple. Because once you have a product in the basket, they want you not to think about it again. Yeah, so the moment you make the checkout process with a lot of questions, the customer will be like, oh, do I really want to buy it or not? And you want to avoid that. Once you put it in the checkout process, very simple clicks that he or she really buys it, right? And then, of course, waiting delivery is important for the e-commerce company, that the delivery works very well. But what is very important for the customer is when he gets it, yeah, and the way he gets it, and when he opens the product, and the first time he or she uses the product. These are important parts, yeah. Is it really important? Some customers, they like to track their stuff. Some customers don't care. They just patiently wait for it. But I think every customer cares about opening it and seeing it the first time. And maybe not spending 3 hours to open it because it's so crazily packed, right? So this is what we cared about in Lazada, which is Alibaba, which is just bought by Alibaba, yeah? So that was where we're in charge. So the end-to-end experience of customer, yeah, and all the touch points. So every interaction we call a touch point, and if a touch point doesn't go so well, so if the package is not so nice, or you have problems with the delivery or anything, that's what we call a pain point. This is very basic customer experience methodology. If you have any questions, just put it in the chat. And then in customer experience, we have these journeys. So this is a customer journey in e-commerce. You first go on the landing page, you discover, then you go on the product page for the research, you purchase, check out, you wait. You know, you have to, because we think like a customer, we don't think like a company. Of course, a lot happens during waiting, but I don't care as a customer what you do. The moment I pay until 3-4 days later, I don't want you that you explain me your internal process. That's the worst thing you can do as a customer service agent. Explaining a customer what's happened inside the company. I don't want to know. I don't care. The only thing I see, I have 2-3 days waiting time. And you can keep me happy with messages or anything, but it's still my waiting time, right? And then I get the delivery and if I have problems after sales, right? And these are some of the touch points. And we as customer experience department, we found out where are the main complaints, which we call pain point. And this is where we did projects. This is now where PMO comes in, yeah? Because we had complaints on delivery options. The delivery options was not clear. There was an economy and a fast delivery option, but sometimes the fast was very expensive. Sometimes it was for free. Sometimes the economy was also cost something, and then it was super slow. And so it was not very clear, right? So we had to clean up the delivery option. So we had to make a project, which our internal delivery team with the 3PLs, also bringing maybe some customers in to understand why they really don't like it, and make a project about it. This is where PMO comes into customer experience. And then if you look at the customer experience management cycle, which starts with discovering what's the feedback and what's the market saying and the customer saying about you. And then the second part is understanding and analyzing is why the customer says that, why they are unhappy, why they want that. And then we have the solving and measuring part, yeah? And this is exactly where PMO comes in, because projects are normally, these are shorter projects. In customer experience, we normally do like 4 to 8 weeks projects. We don't want like monster-long project. We want fast solutions and we want to test them immediately with customers, right? We want to have fixes. We want to have issue fixes. We want to have surprises for the customers. And then we have to measure afterwards in the customer experience part or with the PMO, if the customer really likes it, if it has a business impact, what we improve. Yeah, it has a positive impact on the customer, loyalty, coming back, recommendation, more sales. Yeah, very tangible. And yeah, we have to prove that as part of the deliverable or benefits of the project. We already talked about. So here, also in a classical customer experience management cycle, PMO can be very useful, or applying PMO methodology as PMO or as customer experience team as within LaSalle. Okay, that's all from my part. Do you have any questions? I think we can also then unmute. We can have the questions on the speaker. Raul, you're the first one. Meanwhile, Raul is unmuting himself. Here is our contact data, of course, reach out to us. We will also, GSDC will also send you our material. We have the GSDC rating. You can also separately rate here with the QR code. And you can also look at our pages. So Asia PMO is more about business transformation and project and agile management. OKR Asia is our brand more dedicated to OKRs, and OKR Champ is a certification program.